Hey guys, and welcome to the second part of this two-part series, reviewing iNavi's new 13.1-inch X6 Android head unit. Now, in the previous episode, I went through the entire breakdown of the unboxing and installation in the notorious 2020 Toyota Corolla. Now, if you haven't seen that one yet, I suggest checking it out before starting this video. So, continuing on, I'll be going through some of my first impressions, initial settings, basic usage and features, as well as my final thoughts on the X6. So let's get into it, shall we? That's beautiful. Oh my gosh. Well, obviously the screen is massive. It really does feel like a large tablet stuck to my center console. I've never seen anything like this. The QLED screen is really crisp and bright. Right away you can really see how pristine the quality is at this size. Everything seemed to power up easily on my first try. I believe iNavi does pre-configure your unit before it ships out, which is great.
This is absolutely insane.
I was just imagining everyone who's using their tiny OEM head units to be absolutely mind-blown. I'll definitely have more to say on this later. Obviously, the whole user interface is different from what I'm used to with my H5 unit. I can now see why viewers were commentating on menu items which didn't exist on mine. It seems like iNavi firmwares are totally different for each CPU variant. Older models like my H5 won't have compatible firmware to those found on newer H or X6 series with Snapdragon 665s. Here, the daylight theme seems to be on by default. But already I can see some settings here I asked for, if you remember in my original H5 video, so I'm very much excited to get into all this with you guys later. On ignition, the startup is almost instantaneous. On default, it seems that standby mode is enabled, which means that the unit is in low power mode when the car is completely off. So if you're concerned about battery drain, we can disable it later. I'm surprised to see the outdoor temperature displayed without turning on my climate control as with my H5. The date and time is initially off, but if you did see when I first turned on the unit, it did try to autocorrect itself, which was pretty cool. I'm assuming it used GPS data since I wasn't connected at all to Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or SIM card yet. The date and time is still about 12 hours ahead, which means that my time zone still needs to be set. We have brand new icons with this interface. There's a speedometer which doesn't have that nifty 3D animation anymore, which is sad. Our familiar quick start icons, the audio player widget, which already loaded an included track, which is good for testing, and the standard sidebar allowing us direct access to apps and settings. There's a bunch of preloaded apps, no unnecessary bloat which I like to see, aside from the popular streaming ones you may or may not use. The screen is incredibly smooth and responsive thanks to the updated hardware of the X6. We can open the notification bar by swiping down from the top. Now, I don't like that it doesn't have a swipe down animation since there were times I thought that I failed to open it. We can tap off or swipe it back up to close it. This is pretty self-explanatory. Like a phone or tablet, we have options here to quickly enable and disable features. The Wi-Fi and Bluetooth have been enabled by default. We have a slider here to quickly change the brightness of the screen. I like how we have some newer options here not seen on my H5 to have our own screensavers and the ability to quickly turn off the screen, which I'll find most useful. Now quickly looking at the settings menu. Like I said, it's a totally different interface from my H5. There's a lot of submenus, the organization is different. The one thing here that surprises me the most is the screen backlight option, which I've always wanted. This will allow us to customize the brightness depending on the time of day, which was always my issue with the H5, so thanks to iNavi for listening. Echo cancellation and microphone gain. Options I never had with my H5, which hopefully fixes a lot of the call quality issues without the need of hardware modifications. Guys, we have tons of other options and more user customizations. I'll probably just feature the ones that I think I'll be accessing more often. Everything else seems to be self-explanatory as I scroll through them. Now, I didn't forget this strange floating button here. This is a quick action button, which I guess replaces the physical touch buttons found on the H5, H6 units. This floating button will overlay any app on the screen, so it can be quickly accessed at any time. Essentially, it's the home, back, and volume buttons. As always, let's start with the basic checks to make sure things are in working order. So apparently the unit came with a Fast and Furious trailer. It seems to be their preferred choice to test video playback.
I'm gonna get you out of here. You're gonna have to jump!
I'm using a Samsung bar stick here to test USB storage. It's formatted to the exFAT file system. I noticed an icon will appear once inserted into the port. As you can see, HD movies play very smoothly off the USB stick. Normally, you wouldn't be playing anything higher than 2K video, since it's redundant here, but as an experiment, we'll try a huge 4K video. As expected, 4K movies don't fare well off the USB. We'll now try copying and pasting the video file to the unit. Judging from the transfer speed to the internal storage, I believe it's only USB 2. Playback is still choppy. However, to be fair, this is a unique 4K 60 FPS video file on an HD screen running off their default player. There seems to be better performance with the built-in File Manager's media player. I think there'll be more gains in optimization when we install something like VLC Player. I know from previous experience the speedometer on the home screen is based off of calculations from the GPS. I'm not too sure why I can't decode the data off the canvas, but we'll see how accurate it is with the Corolla. Now there's a definite difference of about 3 to 4 kilometers. It seems faster here on the X6 than what it is on my dash. It's not really a huge issue for me. Better to be shown faster than the other way around, but it's best to have it closely synced together. I'm hoping that this can be offset somehow, or if not configurable by AINAVI in their next update. Now the X6 does have its own diagnostic tools, such as this GPS app, showing us our current GPS acquisitions and geolocation. The OEM reverse camera works flawlessly. It actually looks really clear thanks to the large screen. Only hindered by Toyota's horrible camera. Drivers with HD cameras will benefit the most here. I was surprised to see dynamic trajectory guidelines, which is awesome. The door sensor overlays work great, meaning that the canvas is communicating perfectly. Just like my H5, there's a mini climate overlay that pops up when there's a change in status. It's much improved as it's more minimal compared to my H5, where I had to turn it off because it blocked a good portion of the screen. Well, I can't confirm this, but the interface kinda seems to be controllable somehow. Guys, let me know in the comments if it works for you. This function on the H5 was never interactive for me, so I assumed this doesn't specifically work for my Corolla, but other cars may be. Connecting to Android Auto is super easy as always. Turn on the Bluetooth on your phone, pair to GT6, and Android Auto will turn on automatically with the Z-Link app. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth will both be active in this connection. I gotta say, Android Auto looks gorgeous on the X6. The interface feels a lot more intuitive with a larger view. I can see more than 2 blocks ahead on the screen, and the street names are clearly sharp and visible.
Hey,
find McDonald's.
There's a McDonald's 0.1 kilometers away. Head south toward King Street East.
Hands-free operations work just fantastic. WhatsApp messaging, inbound and outbound calls work just fine within the Android Auto app. Now I won't get too far into details, as lots about Android Auto can be found in my other videos, but just from a navigational point of view, the map is pretty much in your face, so you really can't find yourself lost with the X6. The volume up and down buttons work just fine. The call button here would usually trigger Google Assistant for me, so we're going to have to fix that. The previous and next buttons were also found to be reversed, so there's a few things we need to reconfigure later. And of course, Apple CarPlay works right out of the box by pairing the iPhone with Bluetooth.
Hey.
Hello?
Hey, how's it going? Do you hear me?
I can hear you.
How's the quality?
It's okay.
It's alright, it's okay. Is it better than before?
Yeah.
I'm right now on the highway.
A lot better than before.
Yeah? That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
Do you hear any like noise?
I can hear background, like you're driving. I know you're driving.
Yeah.
But it's a lot better than before. Before it's more like underwater sound.
Now, the quality won't blow people's minds, but it seems to be a huge improvement from my H5 without any modifications. We can, however, finally adjust the microphone settings ourselves this time to tweak it enough for clearer sound. So, having driven with the AINAVI X6 for a month now, I can fairly give you my take on the massive 13-inch screen. Everyone wants to know, does it block my view? The most honest answer is yes. There is a partial loss of visibility, specifically on the 2020 Corolla, but it's not major by any means. Here's a point of view of how I approximately see things in the driver's seat. I'm about 5'7", I usually sit far back and high up. There's about 2 inches from the top of the screen to the hood line. It really depends how it mounts, so it could be different from car to car. Now, is it enough to be a cause for concern? In my opinion, no, but it is quite subjective. There's a bit of a trade-off here between maximum size and maximum visibility. I consider myself a pretty good driver, so I've absolutely no issues adjusting, but others may not like the feeling. It's something you have to get used to. Now, if you consider yourself short or sit far back and low, you'll definitely want to avoid purchasing a screen of this magnitude. Now, if you share your car with others, then I suggest getting a smaller, more manageable size like the H6 instead. Interestingly enough, I've noticed that the sheer size and the crystal clear glass of the X6 does make reflections much more obvious. Contrary to my preference for night mode all the time, I found that I was actually using day mode more often to counteract this on harsher bright days. On that note, we can set it to automatically switch between day and night mode. It works by detecting your car's headlights when they turn on. Tap Settings, General, then Day-Night mode. Right now it's set to night mode all the time. We can also set it to day mode only. To have it automatically switch, set it to Auto. Now, one of my most anticipated feature is the screen backlight option. If you recall how I wish that the H5 had the ability to dim the brightness automatically in either day or night mode, we now have that in the X6. I can't count how many times on the H5 I've always been hitting those buttons to dim the brightness at night and then increase it during the day. This time, no longer. I can custom set the screen brightness for both day and night. It even works if you have either mode on all the time. So kudos to AINAVI for this feature. We can change the date and time by going to Settings, General, select Time. You can change the time here, but my time zone was still set to Shanghai, China. To manually change this, tap Time Zone. Set Time Zone automatically to Off. Then tap Time Zone. Their weather app can also be changed to your location if it hasn't already been done so. For my friends in the US, we can switch to miles per hour by going to Settings, General, Unit, then select American System. Now, a common issue is having reversed previous and next buttons or volume up and down buttons on the steering wheel control. I'm not sure why, but it's always been a thing on my Corolla with all my head units. Thankfully, this is quickly addressed without relearning the buttons by going to Settings, System, Setting Guide, then toggle either the previous next song setting or volume setting, whichever one is reversed in your case. If you recall, pressing the mic button didn't bring up Google Assistant as it did with my H5. I thought we had to relearn this button, but actually we only needed to set it up in one of the menus. Go to Settings, User, Voice, then choose Google. Now pressing the mic button again will finally open Google Assistant for us.
Find McDonald's.
If you find that's a shortcut button to be in the way, I suggest moving it to a corner where you least occupy. In my case, the bottom right. You can drag it anywhere on the screen. I found that the only caveat is that it always resets itself if you restart your unit. And this does get annoying if you set your unit to power down on engine off, which is one of the reasons why I keep it on standby mode. Another gripe I have with the X6 is sometimes the lack of inconsistency with the interface. For example, the home button symbol doesn't match the home button symbol on the notification bar. Same goes with the back button, so I hope they can make it less confusing. If you wanted to completely remove the button overlay, disable Touch Assistant in the user settings menu. So I found on the lowest volume level, I still wanted my music quieter. And there are a few ways to achieve a more manageable range of volume. Go to Settings, Others, Sound Gain. Here there's a number of volume controls. I found that the very bottom item called Others had a direct effect on the music volume. Lowering this value allows for a quieter volume range to be achieved. We can also go to Settings, System, Setting Guide, Sound Attenuation. Now I thought this had something to do with lowering the volume on reverse, but for some reason it doesn't. Toggle the switch will enable changing the values which will lower the volume range. The final way we can do this is in the native Android settings, under Sound and Vibration, and adjust the media volume slider. I found this to be the less clunkier method than the others. The AINAVI X6 does include some sample tracks you can try, some to really test and stress out your sound system. The X6's digital surround app gives you every ability to tweak your setup. For those who just want to have great sound, I found that setting the equalizer preset to popular gives you a nice warm punchy sound quite similar to stock. Now for all you audiophiles, the X6 is chocked full of settings to absolutely fill your ears with your heart's content. There's just way too many micro adjustments for me to go through. I honestly feel quite unqualified to describe it all. But to me, the sound quality is simply astounding. The X6 definitely accommodates for your sound system, whether you have an external amp or a subwoofer. I would say it's got it all. If we wanted, we can turn off the mini climate overlay from appearing by going to Settings, System, Settings Guide, tap Car Model Protocol, enter the code 8861. Here you can see which canvas setting was pre-configured for my Corolla. Now I wouldn't change things here unless I desperately had to. There's a chance to seriously screw things up, so discretion is advised. If we tap that gear icon, we get even more options. To disable the climate overlay, switch the automatic pop-up climate to off. Switching the display climate UI item to off also has that same effect. While we're here, we can change the type of car overlay for your door sensors if it's not properly set for your vehicle. Like I mentioned by default, the X6 will turn off the screen and go into a low power sleep or standby mode when your engine is off. Now, if we wanted to change this so that it completely powers off along with the car, we can do so in the X6's factory settings. Enter the code 7890. Again, changing things here may royally screw up things for you if you don't know what you're doing, so I gotta say, do so at your own risk. I got a good laugh at the English translations. Not too sure what dextrovision or sinistral vision is. Open and close really means on and off here. I wish they did a better job describing these options fully. There's a ton of items here that the majority of users may not need to touch at all. Find the sleep switch menu item, and to make the unit shut down on engine off, switch it to close. Any factory settings saved here will require a reboot. Now, I actually like having the sleep switch to be on since I've had no battery problems at all with the X6 so far, and I believe the unit has a built-in shutoff if it detects a critical voltage drop. Starting the unit from scratch really does take a while, so battery and convenience is the trade-off. If you already have problems with battery drain or don't use your car as often, then I would just set it to off. By opening the car information app, you can check out your fuel efficiency, trip information, change more additional amp settings. Like I said, the X6 seems made for audio. Tire pressure information, which I think requires purchasing special TPMS sensors from AINAVI, not sure. Hybrid stats if you have one. And finally, the vehicle settings for those who are wondering if you could adjust your car's onboard functions. Now, I rarely play around with these settings as they may or may not be fully compatible. Also, the chance of screwing things up here is also possible. I do recall a case here where the H6 user had to switch to accessory mode as a fix to reset his settings, as his car cabin sound stopped working with the unit. So if you're making changes here, and I'm not trying to scare you guys, just be careful and do so at your own risk. Now guys, there's a ton of reverse camera options. AINAVI did preset mine to additional reversing, as opposed to the original car reversing option, as instructed on the printout sheet. When I changed to it, the camera didn't work, so I switched back. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess. Now, if you have a 360 view camera system, yes, the X6 does support this awesome feature. If you absolutely have no clue what I'm talking about, check out that 360 video I previously put out. I'm sure you'll want one in your car. Now, I'll probably save the 360 view setup and testing for another video. Now, the X6 also supports proximity radar if your car has one. Now, there's a plethora of options in reverse gear. The blue reverse guide shown here again is permanently burned into the Toyota OEM camera and can't be removed. If you upgrade to a more modern AHD camera, you may be able to take more advantage of all these settings. If for any reason you don't want the steering guidelines, we can disable it in the setting guide menu by turning off dynamic track line. I found these reverse options to be scattered around. It would have helped if everything was under the actual reverse settings menu, so hopefully improvements can be made. Tapping the Cam app allows for quick access to the reverse camera at any time. Now if you wanted to mute your music in reverse gear, perhaps to hear your radar sounds for safety, switch reverse mute to open or on. On my H5 I could set it to lower the music a bit, However, when I set it to attenuation, it doesn't have an effect. And even the previous sound attenuation menu doesn't have a bearing on this setting at all, so it's a complete mystery to me. Anyways, to keep your music on, just leave it to closed or off. Now I did have some requests to cover customizing the default launcher on the X6. To change the shortcut items, it's as easy as long pressing the icon you wish to switch out, then selecting the app you wish to replace it with. The location icon is a shortcut to our preferred navigational app, which is either Waze or Google Maps. I haven't connected to the internet yet, which is needed to download the maps. The Bluetooth button obviously brings up the Bluetooth menu. If you have any issues connecting to your devices, you can manually add them here. The app menu is self-explanatory. The music icon brings up the music player. You've seen me hit the gear button so many times for settings, but if you long press it, you'll open up another shortcut bar. The play button will bring up the media player. Long pressing the camera icon will allow you to choose which app you want it to link with. I'm assuming the reverse or 360 app here. It could be any app you want. These two hex and location icons switches between the speedometer widget and a map widget. And pressing the gear button closes the bar. So I discovered the default launcher is not the only style on the X6. In the factory settings, there are a few other ones we can choose from. I'll quickly show you each of them here now, so you won't have to keep restarting your unit yourself. The majority of them, I think, aren't that great in comparison to the default one. They could be for other models instead, I'm not too sure. I'll surprise this particular launcher has access to RPM readings. Makes me wonder why they didn't put some of these features in the default one too. The gyroscope is a bit off here, probably needs calibrating. If you guys found the gyroscope in the default launcher, let me know in the comments, because I couldn't find it anywhere. Now this one I actually found to be a little bit more polished than the others. I don't know about you, but out of all these styles, I still prefer to keep the original. Now there were times that I had the X6 in direct sun for hours, from 25 to 32 degrees heat with windows down. The back felt in the range of being too hot to touch at times. However, it hasn't failed on me yet. I feel that AC is definitely recommended though, whenever possible in the heat of the summer. If you notice a moderate pitch noise coming from the unit while your car is off, that's the cooling fan still running in sleep mode. In the app menu, AINAVI does have a 30-page digital user guide for the X6. I suggest reading over it, but I do think a printout would have been nice to have as well. At this point, I definitely recommend connecting to your home Wi-Fi so that we can sign into Google Play Store and update all the existing apps on the X6. We can connect by switching on Wi-Fi if you haven't already done so. AINAVI's X6 supports both 2.4 and 5 GHz channels. Once connected, go to your apps menu and tap the Google Play icon. Then follow the instructions to sign in using your Google account. tap your profile icon. Then tap My Apps and Games. Tap Update All. You can see a list by tapping Details, and wait till everything is updated. Now, this may take a while. Once you get to the screen, we should be all done. Your X6 now is pretty much an updated Android device that can run your usual apps and games. I'm going to go ahead and install VLC Player, which is the only free media player I recommend on all Android devices. Not to mention, it's super optimized to play any media file easily. As you can see, my previous 4K 60 frames per second video performs a lot smoother with VLC Player, taking advantage of the X6's powerful hardware. Now, if you'll be using Android apps like Google Maps natively instead of Android Auto or CarPlay, you'll definitely need to have the X6 unit connected to the internet while driving somehow. There are two methods I recommend in this case. One would be using a dedicated SIM card. Now, you may need a larger microSIM adapter to fit it into the microSIM slot, as it still uses legacy-sized SIM cards. The X6 supports multiple 4G carrier bands. To see if yours is compatible, refer to the chart in episode 1, or visit AINAVI's AliExpress store for details. Once installed, you'll find that your unit will start up in a rebooted state, so give it some time to load. The X6 is essentially a fully fledged Android phone at this point. You'll now be able to access mobile data at any time. You'll find that Google's Find My Device feature already enabled. We can install any tracking app at this point if you want it. I still do recommend keeping a Samsung Galaxy SmartTag in your car for extra insurance. Now, the second method of getting mobile data is turning your own phone into a secure portable hotspot for your AINAVI X6 to be connected to. The only downside is that your phone will always need to be in proximity to stay connected. In your settings menu on your Samsung Galaxy phone, tap Connections. Tap Mobile Hotspot and Tethering. Toggle the Mobile Hotspot switch. Then tap the Mobile Hotspot item, which will bring up the Wi-Fi details. Now we just need to connect to this new Wi-Fi hotspot we just created. If you're using a SIM card, we can turn it off for now or disable mobile data. So here's my phone's new Wi-Fi hotspot. We'll connect to that. And there we go. We now got the X6 connected to our phone's internet. It's that simple. Now that we have everything set up, we can open up and install all our favorite Android apps like YouTube and Google Maps. With the large screen, it's really quite easy to navigate, just like any other tablet you might use at home. Now, another feature we can take advantage of is split screen mode. We can have two apps running side by side each other on the same screen. First, open up both apps. Then tap the three vertical dots on the notification bar. Then select the second app you wish to have on screen. Now, split mode compatibility is limited. I think my Decita G13 does better in terms of apps. But once it works, it's really smooth and makes multitasking a breeze. You can fully switch to either app by dragging the center divider left or right. So guys, that's the AINAVI X6. It's truly a beast in size and performance. As for the cons, there aren't many major ones aside from the obvious partial obstruction by Corolla, which may just be model specific depending on the installation. Again, the large 13-inch screen may not be for everyone if you can't get past the size. Now, in terms of software, the Button Learning app didn't seem to work, which I think may be a Canvas issue. Switching to another model setting may have different results, so there's more testing to be had. I do wish the menu items were better organized and explained, as they're not too user-friendly. The English translations may also need a bit of work. AINAVI does need to polish up their packaging. I do think they need to print out a user manual and provide more platforms for customer support. Now, other than that, the AINAVI X6 is an absolute monster of a unit. It's definitely a showstopper, as everyone who rides with me always has their jaws open when they see it in person. So if you like this video review, hit that like button, comment below, I'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing to this humble YouTube channel, as it helps me create more content like this for you guys. Alright, until next time, cheers.